speaking to the leaves for a long time now. Soft forest rain. Not a storm that asks you to run for cover. Just a patient sound on wet needles and broad leaves. Quiet enough that you could almost mistake it for silence if you were not listening with the part of the mind that still likes company. Somewhere along a narrow path, moonlight finds the wet ground and makes a soft silver map of what is already there. Puddles hold small moons. Moss holds a deeper green than the day would show. A single lantern, if one waits near a fork in the path, keeps a small circle of amber light that does not compete with the night. It only marks a place where someone might pause without needing a reason. You do not have to do anything here. You do not have to choose a destination. If your eyes want to close, they may. I will speak slowly. The rain will continue, and nothing urgent will be asked of you tonight. This is a quiet place for quiet stories. Soft lore of forest paths after dark, told the way someone might tell it if they were walking beside you, with no need to prove anything. There will be no sudden turns, no demand that you stay alert. Only rain, wet leaves, moon silver, and a voice that does not mind if you drift away in the middle of a sentence. So settle if you can. Let your shoulders drop. Let the next breath be a little longer than the last. We are already on the path. The forest around us is only weather and trees. And the paths that appear when you stop hurrying, if they wait nearby, are only company. If you look around, or if you only imagine looking around, you will notice how much of a forest at night is made for stillness. Tall trunks that do not argue with the weather, a path soft with needles and last season's leaves, branches that gather rain and let it fall in patient drops, one after another, the way a hand might count without numbers. The air smells faintly of wet earth, of bark, and of green things that keep their own quiet schedules. It is not a sharp smell. It is the kind that belongs to woods after the last loud day has thinned away, and to paths that have held both walking and rest. Somewhere in the forest's memory, a footstep once slowed, and the slowing was enough. Above, the sky is a deep charcoal cloth, soft at the edges, more like a blanket than a stage. If the moon is out, it is not a hard, bright coin. It is a pale friend behind thin cloud, silvering the wet leaves without asking you to look up and stay awake. On the path, a lantern, or only the idea of one, may keep a small amber island. Its light is soft and limited, which is a kindness. A wide, bright place can ask too much of tired eyes. A small circle is enough. There may be a low stone at the edge of the path, left as if someone sat there once and then chose the rain as quieter company. There may be a fallen log that has become a bench without announcement. There may be a fork where two soft roots wait, neither demanding to be chosen first. Soft evidence that people have been gentle here. If your mind is still carrying the noise of the day, you can set it down on the damp earth beside the lantern light. You do not have to organize it. You do not have to solve it. This forest has held heavier weather than one ordinary evening, and it is still standing. Notice, too, how little the night asks of your face. No one is waiting for your reaction. No screen is brightening to pull you forward. The only flicker is the lantern, and even that is steady enough to trust. In a world that often rewards alertness, this is a small permission slip written in silver and amber. You may become less available now. The trunks are cool if you imagine resting a hand against them. Not cold enough to startle. Cool the way living wood is cool. Patient, older than your lists, willing to hold the night without complaint. The rain continues its long letter on the leaves. You do not need to answer it. Listening is enough. Somewhere a small creature may shift once in the undergrowth and then think better of it. These are not interruptions. They are proof that the forest is a living shelter, settling itself the way a body does in sleep, automatically, without drama. Listen again to the rain. It has not changed its mind. It will keep its steady conversation with the canopy while we stay. And if, far beyond the trees, the soft night continues its larger quiet, let it be only company, sound, not a task, a large dark friend that does not need you to keep watch. There is a story told about paths like this, not as a warning, and not as a claim that must be proven, only as something the night seems willing to hold. It is said that some forests keep a second kind of path for people who are no longer in a hurry. Not loud, not dramatic. Simply the idea that a route can open when the mind stops forcing the map. In the soft tellings from many places, people speak of trails that were not there in the morning, or that were there all along, and only became visible when someone finally walked without measuring distance. The stories are gentle. They sound like good manners practiced by the land itself, without a show. People who tell the tale sometimes speak of moss lines and moon silver in different ways. What matters is not the catalogue of landmarks. What matters is the habit at the centre. Arrival without force. Welcome without performance. Care for the mind that is tired of being clever about where it is going. You do not need to believe in anything unusual. You only need to believe that a path can feel kinder when you stop racing along it. That is the calm heart of it. A mind can rest. A day can end without a perfect destination. Walking can exist without a finish line tonight. In one telling, a traveller once stepped under a canopy after soft rain and felt a strange relief, not because they needed rescuing, but because the path looked ready for rest, a place to pause, a lantern making its small gold island, leaves a soft colour rather than obstacles to conquer. Predictable gentleness is a kind of lullaby for the mind. It says the next moment will resemble this one. You may soften. If this were a different kind of story, someone might invent urgency or a night of trouble. Here we can call it a habit of belonging made soft enough for sleep. The forest stays kind because someone, over and over, chose to treat ordinary quiet as something that does not need an audience. You can pretend, if you like, that such care rests somewhere on this path now, not as a mystery to solve, only as a shape of calm. You do not need to finish a journey. Knowing the night can hold a slow walk without urgency is already a kind of company, like knowing a blanket is at the foot of the is another turn to the story, quieter than the first. It says that such paths never meant to impress anyone. They simply preferred a place where thought could breathe at the end of a day. Some tellers speak of them the way gardeners speak of soil, not because they answer in words, but because care sounds better when it is spoken softly. A version of the tale mentions a bend near a tall oak, where moonlight made the wet leaves look almost silver at the edges. In that bend, a soft root opened only when feet stopped hurrying. No one in the soft tellings was required to choose forever between perfect progress and rest in a single night. The story allowed temporary stops, temporary stillness. A hand allowed to put the day down and still be a careful hand. Some people, hearing this, imagine many paths, a long corridor of pines, a small clearing, a track near a stream. Others imagine only one lantern, one mossy stone, and rain writing the same long letter on leaves. Whether those details are true does not matter much. Sleep does not require footnotes. It requires a path that does not jab the nerves. And if, somewhere in the lore of quiet woods, soft care is still practicing its one gentle trick, making less of the day without making a scene, then it is doing what we are doing now, returning, again and again, to emotions soft enough to rest beside. Let that story rest for a moment. You can keep it if it feels warm in your hands. You can set it down if your mind has already begun to soften around the edges. Either way, return with me to the path as it is. The lantern is still making its small gold island on the wet ground. The rain is still writing the same long letter on the leaves. The trunks have not moved. They do not need to. Movement is not the only proof that something is alive. Patience is another. If your eyes have closed, keep them closed. If they are half open, that is fine too. There is no test at the end of this hour. There is only the continuing rain and the next soft story waiting in the quiet, about paths that appear when you stop hurrying, and welcome that does not need an announcement. You do not have to keep watch tonight. Something careful was left ready before you arrived. That is enough. Near the quieter bend of the trail, past the first soft rise, before the trees become a wall of charcoal and silver, there is a path that the second story likes to mention. Some nights, if you stand there now in imagination, you can almost invent the quiet of it. A route left ready, a strip of moss that holds a little of the night's cool welcome. Nothing grand, nothing demanded, only the shape of going slowly. The tale belongs to people who understood that not every kindness needs to be the size of a festival. The great journeys have their work. The ordinary evening has another. At the end of careful days, a path might open not as a prize under contest, but as soft manners, the way a porch light is left for someone arriving late. And those who walked past later, under a hood of tired thoughts or only the patient forest rain, sometimes said the woods felt less alone. Less alone in this telling is not a crowd. It is a clearance of pressure. Tomorrow's lists can wait. Tomorrow's cleverness can wait on a shelf at home. Tonight the path holds only itself, and a little soft shadow that does not mind being there, and the soft drip of water from a leaf that has decided to let go. It was not a rule written makes a circle the size of 2 open hands. The path does not need your eyes to stay orderly in the dark. It has done this many nights. It knows how to wait. People who saw such things did not always stop. Sometimes seeing was enough. They would stand under an overhang of quiet, shake rain from their sleeves in the mind only, and feel their breath lengthen, because the forest had decided, for a few hours, not to ask anything of them. That is a quiet kind of magic, not the kind that rearranges storms, the kind that rearranges hurry into something smaller. In one version of the tale, a young person once asked why anyone would trust a path that only appears when you stop forcing it. An elder answered, without making a speech of it, because some doors open only when your hand is not clenched. In another version, there is no young person and no elder, only the path and the rain and the simple fact of welcome that does not keep score. What matters is not the exact century or the exact custom. What matters is the decision repeated until it became part of the forest's weather. Offer rest, not for legend, not for bargain, for the possibility of one tired person walking without earning the next step. Of course, stories grow soft edges when told for years. Some say the path was always a little clearer than the ground around it, not dramatically, not in a way that demanded explanation, only the way a place feels when someone has been kind there recently. Some say later generations continued the habit of looking at that bend and feeling relief without knowing the first reason, the way people inherit a recipe and keep making it because the house smells right when they do. If you want a moral, it can be simple. You do not need to carry every unfinished task into the dark. A path can be empty of hurry and still be complete. A mind can set down its cargo and still be itself in the morning. And if no one walks there tonight, it still holds its quiet shape for the person who left it carefully. Rest, even unnoticed, steadies the forest. Rest steadies the night. So let the quiet moonlit path glow in your mind for a moment. Small lantern island, leaves as soft silver, rain silver on bark. Then walk with me, if you like, away from the farthest fork and back toward the deeper quiet of one soft bend, where the lantern continues its own soft duty. The two kinds of care do not compete. One greets the long night of unfinished maps. One keeps company in the near quiet. Between them, a person can cross from the weather of the day into rest. Above the path, if cloud is still practicing its slow fold over the moon, it does not mind the smaller lantern nearby. Care has room for more than one scale. A canopy for the long dark, a niche of gold for the near dark, a voice for the mind that is ready to set the day down. You can imagine a soft turning without a locked gate, not closed against the world in anger, only turned the way a page is turned when the chapter is enough for tonight. The rain remains on the leaves, still speaking. You remain on the path, still aloud. If a thought arrives about unfinished lists, let it hang its coat on a peg of patience and wait. The peg is patient, the list can stay unfinished. The forest the night first. If you are still with me, even softly, we can take a slow walk along the quiet path. There is no place you must reach in a hurry. The walk itself can be a resting place if we do it in imagination only, one quiet step at a time. Underfoot, the ground is soft, where ordinary days have travelled the same line from clearing to canopy. Your steps, if you invent them, can be slower than usual. There is no one behind you asking you to hurry. The trunk, if there is a trunk near your hand, is cool and steady under a palm that can rest lightly. At a place where the leaves open a little, the rain becomes a closer companion, still patient, still writing its silver lines. That is a lovely balance. Weather above, shelter of trunks around you, voice nearby. Many of the best nights in a life are made of exactly that triangle. You might pause where the path shows only soft moonlight and water-beaded leaves. You do not need to see a horizon. Knowing the night is large is enough. Knowing you are not required to manage it is better. These woods were shaped by people who kept simple care and did it without drama. You can borrow that posture now. Hold one simple task. Breathe. If you imagine a short step farther, only in the mind, past a corridor of trunks the colour of wet charcoal and soft bark, you may see or invent a path that does not need to be claimed. Quiet without fuss. Kind without speech. Then turn back. Returning is part of the comfort. In sleep stories, we do not leave you on long empty walks. We bring you home to the same lantern, the same circle of gold, the same patient weather. On the way back, you may pass forks that do not need to be chosen tonight. You may pass a clearing that leads only to more quiet. Sit again, if you like, on the mossy stone. The unhurried path remembers how to hold a person who has set down their day. Let your hands rest, open or closed. Both are correct. Let your jaw soften by a single degree. That degree is enough to begin. The stories can settle now, the way mist settles into the softest hollow when no one is measuring it, not as neglect, but as peace. Stories of forest paths after hours, paths that appear when you stop hurrying. You can keep them as you keep a smooth stone from a quiet shore, not because you must explain them, but because they feel steady in the pocket of the mind. Around you, the quiet moonlit forest continues its night work of simply existing. Trunks hold, leaves receive the rain. The lantern spends its light carefully. None of these things demand applause. They are reliable in the way sleep wants the world to be reliable. No sudden rearrangements, no tests, no raised voices. If your thoughts still wander, you do not have to catch them. Let them wander the quiet aisles of trees without you. They will tire eventually and find a corner. You can stay here, in the warm circle, breathing at the base of rain. There is nothing you failed to finish by resting. There is nothing you must earn before the next breath. The day can remain outside with its wet road and unfinished lists. This path was made for the opposite of urgency. You do not have to keep watch. Soft care, if it rests in the story only, rests without needing your hand. shine thin out, let them be soft ones. Leaf, lantern, path, rain, home. You are allowed to sleep. You are allowed to leave the stories half remembered. You are allowed to wake later with only the feeling of rain remaining, and perhaps a soft moonlit path that means nothing more urgent than the night was kept, and so were you. Rest well. The quiet forest will keep its quiet watch. The lantern will not mind if you do not see it. And above, without needing an audience,